All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And we can't make videos about this news fast enough. We actually just got done recording a different video when new additional knowledge came to light concerning the Ohio Andrew Yang ballot situation. Basically, there's a big problem in the bellwether state with Andrew Yang getting on the ballot. Some protocols weren't actually met. And unfortunately, it's looking like Andrew Yang is going to have to launch a write-in candidacy in Ohio. And this is big news because Ohio is it's called the bellwether state because it's the predictor state of a candidate's success. And this kind of bureaucratic / clerical misgiving, problem, mistake does not bode well for Andrew Yang. It could be a really interesting feather in his cap if he launches a successful write-in campaign, because it's not unprecedented, but generally write-in campaigns are synonymous with failure. So all of these details are fresh and coming to light as we speak. Cody, can you tell us what is going on?
Yeah. Well, I guess originally last night, it looks like about 10 p.m. Eastern time, so 7 p.m. Pacific. Pretty late for news to drop on a Friday. The Hill posted an article, which struck out as kind of odd to me. This is one, like I said, when it was posted late, but they said Yang to launch write-in campaign for Ohio primary. Now, it's one way of phrasing that the Yang campaign announced that their application for the Ohio primary had actually been declined. Now, in the, 12 hours or so following, there wasn't much news. As you referenced, we recorded a video about an hour and a half ago, or about 2 hours ago before the statement came out. However, so Frank LaRose, who is what is the exact title? I want to make sure I get this right. He is the Secretary of State for Ohio, released his statement. Very first, I want to go over what Andrew Yang said, and then we'll get into what actually happened. So, Andrew Yang said last night to the Hill, "My campaign submitted nearly 3 times the amount of signatures needed, virtually ensuring I would be on the ballot in Ohio," Yang said in a statement to the Hill. "Nevertheless, because of a bureaucratic paperwork issue caused by an awkwardly worded law, nearly 3,000 Ohioans' First Amendment right have been denied."
Ooh, I mean, that's a pretty hardcore, that's a civil rights claim right
Well, they also go on to say, despite the setback, Ohioans will have an opportunity to cast their ballot for me in the Democratic primary, so I'm officially announcing a write-in campaign aided by incredible grassroots support, 400,000 donors, and the fact that I have such an easily spelled last name, he adds in a joke. When asked the Hill, so I guess in first statement to the Hill, he said, "Unfortunately, due to a bureaucratic paperwork error caused by a lack of clarity in the Ohio law regarding submission protocols for signed petitions, the Secretary of State's office denied the candidates access to the ballot," a campaign insider told the Hill. Oh, I want to make sure I get that right. That was not released in a statement. That's what something that the campaign insider told the Hill. Now, it appears that this might not be exactly what happened. So he goes on further to state that he wants to, I believe strongly the voters should be able to make their choices among their many. Oh, no. I apologize. Here's the statement from Secretary of State. So I'm going to go to the actual statement. So this is from Frank LaRose. He said, "As Secretary of State, I am duty-bound to follow the law, and law is clear. When Ohioans sign a petition, they deserve to know what they're signing. This is why petition forms must be submitted complete with a statement from the candidate stating their intention to run. By their own admission, the Yang campaign failed to do that. I sincerely sympathize with those who hope to support his candidacy in the Ohio presidential primary. It's truly unfortunate that the Yang campaign has let them down. Virtually every presidential, congressional, and state legislative candidate in Ohio has successfully completed the process over the many decades since it became law." Now, and then they have some background.
In the last video that you and I filmed, that was our exact question.
But one more thing. This is what's interesting about it. Is if the Yang campaign admitted to this isn't great for them. Now, like I'm not surprised at all if this is something that happened even 6 months ago. The Yang campaign was a much smaller, growing, different animal. But Ohio law RC 3513 Section 9 or whatever is clear about the requirements of petitions in Ohio, and for good reason. When a campaign is gathering signatures, Ohio law requires them to do so on part petitions, a document that includes 3 components: who the part petition is for, the signatures, and a circulator statement from the person who gathered the signatures. Why is this requirement so important? It ensures signers aren't signing a petition under false pretenses. The Yang campaign failed to include the first part on the vast majority of their part petitions, which, if true, is a pretty big mistake, and you know what? Might cost you being on the ballot in a state. Now, there's a bunch of stuff going on. I'm not going to get into, because to be frank, I don't know exactly if there's a grudge against him, if this Frank LaRose guy's a bad guy, but if the Yang campaign is admitting that what they did would technically be considered disqualifying by the state's laws, I think that's one of the reasons why Andrew Yang is pretty much announcing this to the media as launching a write-in campaign. I think he realizes this isn't a fight. If he admitted, by his own admittance, we did not clearly state on our petitions that it was Andrew Yang for president, and maybe they thought it was, it just wasn't clear enough on there, which is what it sounds like, then yeah, he probably won't be on the ballot. What's really fascinating to me, and I wonder if what it exactly was the tone of it. Because when I read it, I'm like, why is the Secretary of State editorializing and getting so upset, saying it's a shame that Mr. Yang and his campaign couldn't keep things together? It's like, it just felt weird. And I guess maybe this guy's petty, but it sounds like it comes more from one.
This is a defensive statement.
Exactly. Yeah. One, I wonder if it was from the Yang campaign accusing them of misgiving. But two, and it's something I want to add. Personally, I like it, but I think sometimes, as Newsweek actually had these in there, and I recognize some of these names. I'm not trying to flame anyone, but there's a lot of people in the Yang gang writing tweets. You know, myself with dozens of those dedicated volunteers got these signatures to get Ohio on the ballot. And, you know, I promise you all Ohio Secretary of State will be hearing from Ohio Yang gang first thing Monday morning. I think what happened was the Secretary of State heard from the Yang gang and Andrew Yang. And I think that might be why we get a statement. I mean, because, dude, it's not that like I'm like, oh, how dare they say something mean to Andrew Yang. I'm like, why is the Secretary of State weighing in his opinion on, oh, it's a shame? Like, it just felt weird. But I wonder if that's what it comes from. It's not the biggest deal here. The bigger deal here is that it seems like the Andrew Yang campaign, or the Yang 2020 campaign, made a legitimate misstep here, right? I mean, like, this is, if according to the statement of Secretary of State, I have not seen it refuted by the Yang campaign. I'll keep looking. I'm not seeing any refutation to this, that by their own admittance, they mishandled the legal requirements for doing the petitions. I mean, that's a pretty big mistake, especially as you were just talking about. Ohio is a state that has proportionally based delegates, so it's not a winner-take-all state. Yeah. Which I'm assuming is good for someone like Yang. You don't have to win the whole state to get some delegates. And two, as you've mentioned before, Ohio, generally speaking, I mean, for example, Hillary Clinton won Ohio in the primary in 2016. She won the primary overall. It was a rigged primary, so maybe, but I believe it was the same in the general. Trump won the general in Ohio, and it led to it. So, I mean, as you pointed out, it is a good thing. But so I went a little long in the news here, but it's just what we know for now is, because this morning when we first recorded, I was like, I'm not 100% sure Yang's off the ballot in Ohio. It's not official for like about a month. Sounds like, no, it's official. He is off the ballot. I mean, he cited the section of the law they violated, and it is what it is.
Who is in charge? Who's the Ohio campaign manager that botched this?
Well, because
I hate to say it, but
that's the tough question.
Who did you hire that didn't get the basics correctly? Because obviously anybody who's done a campaign before knows, okay, well, you have to have the circulator statement. You have to, I mean, it's actually the same in California, and these are all basics here.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's tough, right? And again, though, I wonder, because here we go, because we can talk about that part of it, which is just, it is what it is. It does not look like Andrew Yang is going to fight his way back onto the ballot. I feel like also with this is the kind of statement you release when you're not. This is the kind of statement that comes across as, this is not like a continuing legal dispute. He's off the ballot. He violated the rule. So moving forward, then. So he's going to be a write-in candidate, and what's the possibilities of him winning, and what are the precedents for write-in candidates? Well, one in primaries too, not in generals, because obviously a lot of people do write-ins for the general as well, because why not, really, right?
Yeah, Mickey Mouse.
Hey, by the way, I'm in the write-in ballot for general president. Vote me 2020. But it is going to be weird. Now, I do think Ohio, with the Yankees on the ballot or not, it looks like Biden just walks away with Ohio anyway. But the larger thing is, hopefully this is what happens when a campaign grows too fast, I guess, as an outsider campaign. You don't have that person to go, hold on a minute, we got to make sure we don't get ran off by. Now, like I said, this looks like a Biden state, because Biden's got a 10-point lead on Warren. You think Warren's going to win a state come primary season? And Bernie Sanders, for whatever reason, is not very popular in the state of Ohio, which is interesting. I mean, he got hammered by Hillary in 2016 there. So, I mean, I don't want to get, this isn't a video about the Ohio polling breakdown, but it is a very interesting wrinkle in the Yang 2020 candidacy, isn't it? I mean, being forced into write-in status in 2020, write-in status in Ohio because of essentially just kind of flubbing the petition process. Like, that's not good,
Yeah.
But I ultimately think he can recover from it, only because, I don't have it pulled up, but Michael Bloomberg, which is not the best reference point, Michael Bloomberg is not going to be on like multiple state ballots, and he's still he still thinks he can win. Maybe. I know it's not a good reference.
There's big names that have been write-in candidates that have won. Do you have the list of all the people who have won as write-in candidates?
Well, but
I mean, Herbert Hoover won the Massachusetts primary as a write-in candidate. Franklin D. Roosevelt won the New Hampshire primary as a write-in candidate.
You'll notice. Many of these people are no longer with us, I guess. But
Charlie Wilson did it as recently as 2006.
Not for president, I don't believe.
Yeah, it was. Look in here.
According to the Wikipedia thing I pulled up, the last presidential primary, the last time they even mentioned this at all, was when Ralph Nader ran a write-in campaign during the New Hampshire primary, in which he gathered about 6,000 votes. That's the last time it's even brought up. I mean, before that...
Ralph Nader wasn't eons
before that,
ago.
It was 92. Before that, we go back to 68 when Lyndon Johnson did not file, but he received write-ins totaling 50% of all Democratic votes cast. So Senator Eugene McCarthy, who campaigned actively against Johnson's Vietnam War policies, was on the ballot. He received an impressive 41% of the vote and gained more delegates than the president, who was reportedly so stunned that he did not run for re-election.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not trying to say that, look, this happens all the time.
It's fairly unprecedented. I'm saying is in recent history, it's fairly unprecedented.
Is that basically, like I said in the opening, a write-in candidate is generally synonymous with failure. Okay, but there are outliers and there are precedents in which you don't need to give up all hope. But this is not a good sign for the Yang campaign.
Well, also, I think he could win I think he could just win the primary without winning Ohio, right?
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. Because the other thing too is, it's not like every ballot's finalized across the nation either.
Yeah.
So are we going to see more of this? I really hope not, because again, like you said, that seems like a kind of thing that I'm assuming most states require that you are very specific about what the petition you're signing is in legal. What's funny is that's probably like the law. But the practice of it is a bunch of legalese mumbo jumbo that actually means nobody knows what the thing they're actually signing is for. Because it's just like, wait, hold on a minute. Oh, no, they want to run for Congress and help the environment. Oh, cool. But it says here they're running for the 25th Congressional Representative District. I was like, yeah, that's what it's technically called. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I don't know, man. I don't anticipate seeing more, but at the same time, this isn't like some very obscure 1785 law where it's like, oh, sorry, use a ballpoint pen, we can't take ballpoint. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like that. It was kind of like, and then again, the other big thing too here, just as far as any like battling that goes on with this, the Yang campaign admitted they violated this law. I don't really know what the workaround for it is.
Yeah.
So a write-in campaign will be the future here.
But you got, I hate to say I agree with the bureaucrat, but in the first version of this video, before this official statement had come out that you and I recorded, I said, well, what is the law that they violated? They keep saying there was an obscurely written law. What is that law? And why haven't others violated it on accident if it's so obscurely written? And then here we find out that, okay, it's the part petition law. That's actually kind of common. And it does not make it look good for Andrew Yang's campaign's case that it's the writing of the laws problem if every other legislature, council member, state assembly person, state senator, and congressman running from the entire state of Ohio did it correctly and didn't have that problem. So I hate to say it, but I think you gotta give credit where credit is due, and you have to have accountability where accountability is due. Whoever's running the Ohio state campaign for the Yang gang muffed it.
Yeah, and get something else too.
They muffed it.
Like, because the other, it is definitely, I don't want to say it's one of those good problems, but I think part of this comes from, if you look for this, this was the graph we tried to put up video yesterday. You showed me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Look, he went from what, maybe 100,000 unique or just individual contributions in quarter one to now over 1 million in quarter four. The campaign's exploded. I mean, it was a smaller campaign with less political savvy, experienced operatives working in it for a very long. I mean, to this day, currently Yang Week's going on. A lot of people with no former political experience are in there doing it. It's kind of like I said, it's the good problem of engaging a lot of new people is they don't carry with them the baggage of being involved in the political cycle for the last 10 years, but they also don't carry with them some of the experience and of being able to look at that and say, because seriously, it is weird, but anyone who's been a part of anything, it's crazy how much, like Andrew Yang could be on the ballot in Ohio if one person just happened to glance over and go, "Oh, hold up, man, we can't use those because we have to staple this paper to the front." Just because I've done these before and I know what it looks like. It's the downside of lacking the experience. It's when I think it's funny when people say like, "Who's never been in office before? Experience will be a problem." It becomes a problem for this filing paperwork on your petitions. It doesn't become a problem when you have to make rational decisions like, "Oh, never did that before." But it becomes a problem when you have to deal with the bureaucratic stuff. And this is what it looks like. It looks like you get left off a ballot because of what isn't, like I said, it's not the craziest mistake of all time. This is something that you'd imagine they get done. So again, hopefully we don't see more of this. I don't think Andrew Yang not losing by 15 to 30 points to Joe Biden in Ohio is going to change the election for him. I think he can still win the primary pretty good here. And that's just based off the fact that Ohio seems like Ohio loves them, but love their Clinton, loves their Biden. And I imagine that's going to continue into 2020.
Well, the establishment runs strong in Ohio. So though it is the bellwether state for general presidential elections, definitely not the bellwether state for Democratic primaries because it's an establishment thick state, similar to Iowa. It's just one of those states where a disproportionate amount of establishment funds and energy gets spent, so it wields a little bit more power, and therefore it trends definitely a lot more establishment.
It's really important. It's because, like Hillary Clinton not performing well in Ohio probably cost her the election. They realize it's very important, but the thing is, where does the money and resources come from either party? Well, the establishment where the money and resources are. So when the party focuses on something, it kind of gets co-opted into an establishment thing, Republican or Democrat, almost always, because it's, almost anything in life, where you're trying to operate on the fringes. Some projects are so big and so important, you can't operate on the fringes, and you got to call in the big guns, and that could be Ohio. But yeah, again, this is definitely a unfortunate misstep for the Yang campaign. I would not go as far as to slam him like the Secretary of State from Ohio did. Dude, this is pretty brutal, man. It's truly unfortunate the Yang campaign has let them down. Wow. Yeah. In a way, I could understand that coming from the perspective of, because again, I would assume the Secretary of State's pretty indifferent to who files their paperwork correctly. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like an emotional thing. It's just like, oh, they messed it up. So I think sometimes people hear the Yang Gang perhaps a little bit too well. Yeah. and it manifests in statements like this.
Okay. So anyway, let us know what you guys think. Let us know if you got any insider details, because this is literally developing as we speak and as we record. As of now, looks like no-go for Andrew Yang on the Ohio ballot, but he will be a write-in candidate. No reason to go to a dark place if you're a big-time Yang ganger, because there's been plenty of candidates throughout history that have had very successful write-in candidacies. If he does do this, you got to be thinking possibilities over problems. Shout out to Kat. That's Nowism right there, straight from Australia. You got to be thinking possibilities over problems here, and this could be actually a big feather in Andrew Yang's cap and be something that's really cool that leads to a hullabaloo and a bunch of buzz around his name. Or it could be just another failed write-in candidacy. So we'll just totally see what happens. Let us know what you think. If you haven't had a chance yet, please like this video, share it with your friends and with your family, subscribe if you can. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.